Welcome to Happy on Purpose. I'm Janesse Pearson, your host. Today I'm joined by Jodi Scott, coach, mentor, and founder of Jodi Scott Coaching. Jodi works with women who are successful, capable, and carrying a lot, but who quietly wonder if life could feel lighter, clearer, and more aligned. In this conversation, we're going to talk about how she found this work, what she sees so often in high achieving women, and most importantly, what practical shifts can help someone move from burnout to thriving. Jodi, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here, Janice.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really great conversation. So I think we'll just dive into the questions because I'm sure the listeners want to hear you more than they want to hear me, and you can give them the goods.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. I love to start with how you got into this work. So what was happening in your life? Like what drew you to coaching? Because you've been doing this for, I think, 15 years.
Yes, yeah, I've been a life coach since like way back when nobody knew what a life coach was. And so what drew me to it was I had gone through a divorce and I was virtually picking up the pieces of my life and rebuilding a new one. And I had two young kids and I had gone when I got a divorce, my husband and I had a company together. So I was like starting new career, fresh over. I was moving to a new house. I was doing all the things. And I went into real estate and I was in real estate a couple of years. And I just knew it wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I was not enjoying taking my kids out in their pajamas at 8 o'clock at night to get papers signed. So
Yeah.
I stumbled across this word life coach. And I was like, something in me just like vibrated. I was like, what is that? I need to know more about that. And so I actually found a life coach in Vancouver. I went down, I met her in person, and then for a few months we worked together. And she said to me, because I was trying to find a new career. And she said to me, I've been learning a lot from you. Maybe you should become a life coach. And I was like, oh, I actually had a counselor tell me the same thing. And I was like, oh, okay. I like the universe sends you messages, right? So she put me in touch with a life coach in North Carolina who put me in touch with Martha Beck she was in Arizona at that time. So she's, for any listeners who don't know who Martha Beck is, she is a best-selling author. She is Oprah's life coach. She's on the OWN network with different programs that Oprah's
Mhm.
done, and she does an article in Oprah's magazine. So I got on a call with Martha, and as soon as she started to explain what a life coach was, I was like, I actually said to her, I've been doing that my whole life. I had no idea it was called a life coach.
Awesome.
And so I ended up flying down to Arizona and I trained with her to become a life coach. And that was back in 2009. So in 2010, I opened my practice. And yeah, it's been like 15 years now of coaching women.
That's amazing. And you're right here in Vernon.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, right here in Vernon.
which is pretty awesome
Yes,
for
yes.
all of the listeners. I love it when I say this to my kids all the time. Listen to what people tell you because they know you better than you know yourself. So I love that when people are saying, this is what you'd be good at. We need to listen.
Oh, we so do. And I think that's why coaching is so beneficial because like I always tell my clients, like, you can't read your own label when you're the jar. Like,
Perfect.
you can't see your own nose. Like somebody else has to reflect something back to you that it's in your blind spot and you can't see it. And I think that's why coaching has gotten increasingly popular is because we
Mhm.
need that. We need someone else to help us see what we can't see.
Absolutely. And the difference between coaching and counseling for those that are listening, in your best estimation, what is the differentiation? Because some would say that sounds a lot like what my counselor does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there is a fine difference between the two of them. Like, from my perspective, coaching is more about present and forward facing. It's like, okay, where do you want to be? Like, a lot with my clients, I'm like, let's do like 100-day plan. Where do you want to be 100 days from now? Okay, so then let's work that backwards in terms of who do you need to be now to become that person in 100 days. So it's more forward focused. We don't necessarily go back and revisit a lot of things from the past. We'll clean up some things that are sort of like maybe getting in the way of them moving forward, but really it's more like, we're making a plan and we're creating some forward movement.
Yeah. I always sort of think of it in my head, if you're really stuck and it's something that feels a little traumatic or really deeper wound,
Mm.
start with counseling, but then don't stop. When you get
Yes.
to zero, right? Like you're now back to baseline. This is the time.
Yes.
Let all that simmer and integrate, but then use it, going with a life coach with all the things you've learned, you
Hmm.
can just accelerate and
Absolutely.
integrate all of that
Yes.
information.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very cool. And Martha Beck, forgive me, has she passed or is she still?
No, she's still yeah, still
She's been
doing the
around.
yeah, yeah, still has her life coach.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
she's pretty
works
wonderful.
with Oprah still. So yeah, does the article in her magazine, and yeah, she just had another bestseller just released. So yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
So that's sort of, do you feel like I don't want to say mirror her work, but that might be the foundation of just kind of where you resonate?
Yeah, I think it was like, because it's been so long since I've been in this, like I've really evolved my
Yeah.
own, into my own work and my own mythologies and
Style.
programs and like just the way that I do it. Definitely, that was the foundation that got me going and that really, gave me a clear understanding of what coaching is. Yeah. And then I've just evolved from there into
Right.
my own kind of way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and through that, the 10,000 hours, which you
Yes.
clearly have,
Yeah.
I think you definitely do, even as an artist, right? Or as a creative
Mm,
or anything, you start with a foundation and then you build from that. And that's
absolutely.
where you really get to see where your skills are and your strengths and morph that into your own brand and your own business.
Yes,
Amazing.
absolutely. Yeah.
So working with high achieving women, that's a pretty interesting niche because I think high achieving women come with all sorts of layers, right? They
Yes.
didn't get to be that high functioning woman without some stuff along the way. So what's the common thread that you typically see in the women that come to you, those high achieving women? Or is
Well,
there one?
yeah, there is. And typically what I see is like, women who have checked all the boxes. They've done all the things, like all the things that were expected of them, right? They've like done what was quotes right, followed the rules, done what was expected, and now they're in burnout.
Yeah.
you know, they're in like overdrive where they're like their nervous systems are shot and they're still trying to push through. So they're either experiencing some kind of burnout, breakdown, or health issues because they just keep pushing, right?
Yeah.
Because they just believe, their nervous systems are conditioned to keep pushing through. We've all been conditioned to just like, you know, don't give up, keep on trying, just keep pushing through. And I think we can agree that like burnout and anxiety is at a highest level that it's probably been in a really long time.
Yeah.
And mental health is a real issue because especially since the pandemic, we've been through a lot and we just keep pushing, right?
Yeah.
And women today are carrying all of the load, like they're doing the professional load, they're doing the family load, the invisible load, like they're carrying all of the things. And so it's just we're not meant to like be on 24 hours,
Yeah.
7 days a week, like our modern world kind of demands. And so that's what I see is like, I see women that are like just feeling exhausted and burnt out and being like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I used to be able to handle this. I used to be able to do all this. And it's like, you know, it's bringing them back, like we were talking earlier about helping them see what they can't see. It's like, no, like you're not meant to keep pushing yourself at that rate, that level, and looking at like really what's going on in their life, that we can start to like take some of that load off, give them new perspective, teach them new, get rid of that old conditioning that just says like, you just have to keep trying harder and,
up level your life and,
mm-hmm.
productivity hacks. And
Exactly.
I feel like what I'm seeing is there's a real need for exactly what you just said, the offloading. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need more, like at
No.
all. That's such a social media, the
Mm-hmm.
Tony Robbins, the rah, the,
Yes.
and I think there's a place for Tony Robbins, absolutely. But what I think people don't necessarily understand about coaching sometimes is that's not always it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not trying to push you harder. There's not more
No.
tasks. A lot of specifically for women, it is that offloading. And
Yes.
you'll be 10 times more productive
Mm-hmm.
once you see where
Yeah,
those emotional leaks are and those
absolutely.
presence gaps.
Yes. Yeah. And recognizing, like, I work a lot of times with women recognizing what their survival patterns are. So we have these survival patterns of perfectionism where we just will sacrifice ourselves continuously to try to meet that perfectionist level because that at one time in our life helped us avoid some kind of pain.
Yeah.
So we adapted these patterns that of survival or self-sacrifice or self-punishment because at one time it helped but now it hinders.
Yeah.
And so it's really helping women see, oh wow, that's just an outdated pattern that I have that actually isn't helping me anymore. It doesn't serve me to continue to try to be a perfectionist or continue to try to put everybody else ahead of myself and make myself last, like to
Yeah.
sacrifice myself actually is not serving me or anybody else, truthfully.
No. And
Yeah.
we hear it 1,000 times. Put the
Mm-hmm.
oxygen mask on for, there's got to be another analogy because that one people are
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah. But it's like,
Yeah,
no, it's really
exactly.
still true. It's
Yeah.
still true.
Yeah.
And
Everybody says it for a reason.
right. I think that's the benefit of getting older. It's like all those kitschy little cheesy cliches all start to
Yes.
really resonate. You're like, oh, that's why we're saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that there isn't, we don't have to keep up with, it used to be keep up with the Joneses, who knows who they are now. But
Right. The
that
Kardashians.
keeping up with the Kardashians, good Lord. Right. So that's, I think that's one thing too, is we can be completely imperfect and it's
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
It's okay. We're on a mission. We're on a journey here. We're not trying
Oh,
to
for sure.
ace this life based on our cultural standards and norms.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we talk about in your on your website. I saw the words thriving and just functioning, and I thought
Hmm.
that's pretty cool because in your opinion, what is the difference then of thriving or functioning well? Because they sound like they go hand in hand,
Right.
but I
Yeah.
suspect there's a difference.
Hmm. Yeah. I really think of it as it's an inner work job. Like it's something that you establish inside yourself. It's not thriving externally.
Yeah,
Like it's learning how to thrive within yourself. So it's really like establishing self-trust with yourself. It's really giving yourself the time. Like I say, like study yourself, because where else in our life do we actually study ourselves, right?
yeah,
Like we know more about how to like do, the functions of our job than we know about ourselves, right? So really it's about like studying yourself and learning like really like how do
mm,
I best function? Like what really gives me energy versus draining my energy? What actually makes me excited to wake up every morning versus like I'm just getting up because I have to and I'm going through the motions. So it's really like an internal discovery. That's where the thriving comes from for me is that really helping women understand what makes you thrive, what makes you excited for your life.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
offloading the stuff that isn't serving, if you can. I mean,
Yes.
let's
Yeah.
face it, life has things that we have to do that don't bring us a tremendous amount of
Yeah.
joy, but we have
Hmm.
to. I find what you said earlier, it made me think, um, I feel like in the counseling space, when I would have a woman come in, they were so certain that they understood their partner's motivations and
Yes.
why their partners do all these things. And if they could just and I always am thinking, okay, you know all this about your partner.
Yeah.
Have you taken the time to unpack yourself?
Hmm.
Because we know how hard it is to change ourselves.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
How hard is it going to be to change someone else?
Hmm.
Like next to
Yeah.
impossible. So the
It
best thing to
is.
do is find your own.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like it's absolutely like, I always say, like, your partner is not a renovation project.
Perfect.
Like you cannot, like, if you're thinking that by fixing them you're going to fix the relationship, that's never going to work. Like it's all internal work. It's all inner work because
Yeah.
our outside world is a reflection of our inside world. Our
Yeah.
lives are created from the inside out. So we
That's
really
a
have to
hard,
go in.
absolutely sorry to cut you off, but that is a hard pill to swallow. I have been told sometimes it sounds like victim blaming.
Mm,
And I don't see it that way. I see
mm,
it as when you acknowledge that you are the
mm.
co-creator.
Yes.
And even maybe more so, you are your own creator. I've said,
Mhm.
people say, oh, don't take it personally. I sort of think take everything personally in the
Yes.
sense that you have to understand why it lands on you the way it does.
Hmm.
Why did
Absolutely.
you react? Why did you go on the defensive? Why, it's so much easier to go, well, if they didn't just, know how to push my buttons, well, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
well, tell me what these buttons are. Well,
exactly.
do you know? No. Well, I just want them to understand. Okay, but understand what?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's really hard to do and not make feel bad that you're somehow the problem. That's not
Right.
it. That's not
Hmm.
it. It's like we got to start with ourselves.
For sure. Yeah. And that is something, like I always say, like, it's taking responsibility for your life. And a lot of times that does get misinterpreted. They're like, oh, that, like, I'm not to blame for everything. Like, and it's like, it's not the same thing. Like being responsible for your life is actually really empowering
Oh,
because when you recognize, wow, I'm the one who thinks the thoughts in my head that create the way I feel, that drives my actions, that creates the results in my life. Whoa, that's way more powerful than thinking that everybody else gets to determine how I feel.
yeah. Because then we're just
Yeah.
reacting. You're
Yes.
reacting to life instead of
Hmm.
creating your
Absolutely.
life. Yeah. And does it mean that maybe some things are going to get uncomfortable? Heck yeah.
Hmm.
One
Yeah.
of my favorite things is boundaries. And people don't,
Yeah.
that's not setting boundaries so that someone else learns how to be a better person in your world. Because
Mhm.
sometimes you're just going to put those boundaries in and they're not going to fit. They're not going to change. Well, okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The work. Oh,
Yeah. But it's already uncomfortable. That's the thing. That's
right.
why you need those boundaries. That's why you want to take responsibility for your life because it's already uncomfortable. So why not, go to the source,
Yeah.
go
Trust that
within
work.
and start understanding why am I getting these results in my life? Like, what am I believing about myself? What am I thinking about other people? What are the thoughts causing me the pain, the beliefs causing me the pain that are getting these results in my life?
Hmm.
And realizing, whoa, I get to be the one completely in charge of that. And yes, other people, like, I always say that's their freedom. Like that's their freedom. Other people can do whatever they want. That's their freedom. And then you also have your own freedom to
Yeah.
like think whatever you want about it.
Yeah. And it is
Hmm.
not your parents' fault. That's another
Exactly.
one, right? We're not going to stay in that story.
No.
We need to just move on. So
Yeah.
you're a high achieving, high functioning powerhouse woman, but you're still
Mhm.
using the story, well, if my dad wasn't an alcoholic or whatever.
Right.
That's why I say for that stuff, counseling, unpack that,
Hmm.
get that stuff narrowed down,
Absolutely.
deal with it, cope with it, and then get on to coaching and create your life
Hmm.
without that heaviness.
Oh, yeah, without all of that baggage that's just kind of weighing you down, holding you back,
Yeah,
and you deserve that. You deserve to be free of all that.
yeah. I would
Hmm.
imagine you, I mean, I'm asking the question, but I already know the answer. Being trauma informed as well
Hmm.
as a life coach, you have to know the limits of your scope of practice.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because otherwise, I'm not really helping my client. Like if really what they need is, therapy, counseling, some trauma work, then it's like, go do that first and then come back to me.
Yeah,
Like you say, let that stuff go. Like clean out the closet. Let's clean out the closet first, then come back to me and
yeah.
we'll design an amazing wardrobe that carries you through. Like
What a beautiful metaphor. I love it.
yeah.
I love that. How can someone tell if what they're doing is just a coping strategy or if it's actually truly aligned with themselves? Like if somebody's telling you something and they're like, well, I just really like, I always have to attend, this is just coming to me. I have to attend all the events, like all the, like being in business for yourself, the networking, the luncheons, the all of the rest. And you're filling your days with all of that. And it feels like maybe you're thriving. It feels like maybe you're up leveling.
Mhm.
But when does it cross over into like maybe an unhealthy coping strategy
Mhm.
or avoidance, maybe even?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's why like it's so important to get women back in touch with how they really feel because we live up in our heads, so much of the time and we're just like on the treadmill and we're just checking things off the list and going through the motions and it's like that's why what you and I do is like we help slow you back down and go, okay, let's look at what is really going on in your life. Like give you time to start to check in with yourself and start to actually feel how you feel again, because for many reasons women have disconnected from their bodies and live in their heads, and so we actually don't really know sometimes how we feel about things. We're just like, oh, well, I should do this and I'm supposed to do that and I see everybody else doing it, so that's what I'm going to do. And
Yeah,
then you get to the end of your life and you look back and you go, oh, I didn't live my life.
on
Like,
my terms. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't live the life I wanted to live because I was so busy just going through the motions and doing what was expected and doing what everybody else was doing that I never actually felt my life. I never
Mm,
actually experienced it. And I didn't do what I wanted to do. I didn't live it the way I wanted to live it.
yeah. It
Yeah.
makes me think of like the chameleon effect of just being whatever is needed for
Mm-hmm.
whoever is needing it at the
Mm-hmm.
time. And so you become this colorful shapeshifter. But
Yeah.
who are you under that all those
Mm-hmm.
personas, mother, wife, daughter, father, husband, whatever it's going to be, who are you really? And
Yes.
like you say, taking on all those roles, the shoulds and
Mm-hmm.
you said one other word that sounded like should, but I can't think of trying to make those comparisons of like, this is how I'm supposed to live my life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who says so?
Yes, exactly.
And is it, well, I don't want to offend anybody. I used to hear that a lot, especially with boundaries, right? Well, I don't want to upset anybody. It's like, well, if they're upset by you being you, this is something to look at,
Mm-hmm.
right? You
Yeah,
have a voice, you have an opinion.
absolutely. Yeah. And that's why it's so important to like learn that responsibility because when you learn that, oh, I'm responsible for my life, you also realize they're responsible for theirs. So it's
Absolutely.
like they can manage their own emotions. If they don't like what I'm doing, that's their freedom. They're allowed to have that emotion about it. Like they can have all sorts of emotions about what I'm doing, and that's
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other people think of you is none of your business, or,
Yes.
I've heard that. Again,
Yeah.
I'm so full of all these quotes and cliches, but I have no idea where they're from. So, anybody knows, that's where it came from. I did not
Yeah.
make that up.
Exactly.
It makes me think of parenting adult children too, because there is such a shift of, especially again, thinking of high functioning, powerful, very capable, independent women. And now all of a sudden you've managed and put in quotation marks, controlled your child to the best way that you knew how to do. But now they're like, okay, but I want to launch.
Yeah.
And I want to find my own way. And there's pushback. People say, oh, the teenage years. I'm like, wait till you get your 20s, your kids in their 20s, because they need to fail forward faster. They need to be able
Yeah.
to have that ability. And if that's one gift as parents can give is healing themselves so that they don't pass it on to their children, we can also empower them and allow them to really get to know who they are and let them trust them that they do know at 20. Like they do.
Yes.
They have a very good idea. They're just going to need to make some errors and have some consequences, both positive and maybe not so pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
But I would imagine that would be an area, right? If my kids would
Yes.
just listen to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, that was wise for you. It might not be so wise for them.
Right. And also because, because women have been given the, you know, task to like look after the, children and raise them, we still feel this like we have this like I need to still control
Yeah.
what's happening because that's how we attempt to feel good in our life is we attempt to control all the moving parts of our lives so that we can try to feel good. And it's like that's why we end up in burnout because you literally can't control all the moving parts of your life. You can't control the other people, you can't control other people's reactions. You can't control outside circumstances and we exhaust so much energy, our life force trying to manage and control all of those things
Mhm.
so that we can attempt to feel better and it backfires 100% of the time because
Yeah.
we literally can't control any of those things.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
a big one that I used to see when I was practicing is that feeling that somehow their behavior is a direct reflection on you. So
Yes.
it's like behave, don't do
Yes.
this. Well, yeah, but some of these kids are going to have addiction issues. Some of them are going to
Mhm.
vape when you don't want them to. Some of them
Mhm.
are going to move out with a boy you don't like or a girl that you think is too needy or a million different scenarios.
Yes.
We have to take a step back, I think, in that
Mhm.
because they are their own little, whatever you believe for me,
Oh,
little
absolutely.
souls that came into this world to have an earth experience. And
Absolutely.
on we go.
Yeah.
Let them.
Yeah. Let them. Yeah.
It's
Because,
not you.
everybody has their journey, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has their own journey and their own mission here. like, they
Mhm.
have their own life lessons that they're going to learn and move through. And, as much as we love our kids and we want to try to protect them from all of that, we actually can't. Like, that's just the bottom line. We actually can't,
Yeah.
and we do ourselves and them a disservice by like pretending like we actually
Yeah.
can.
Because then they're
Mhm.
going to move out and you'll wonder why they're not calling you or
Right.
asking you for input or advice or
Yeah.
whatever. It's because they know you won't give it from a perspective of their life being of the best interest, but
Hmm.
it'll be what might be good for you. I said, I've kept them alive to 20 and in the
Yep.
toddler years that they're trying very hard to go the opposite way. And then now in the 20s, there still is that fear, right? You don't want them to hurt themselves, harm themselves. We
Yeah.
have the wisdom, but it's okay. They're going to be okay.
Hmm.
And if
Yeah,
they aren't, that's okay too.
for sure. And I think, because, we're all energy beings, they can sense whether you like really believe in them or you really don't, or you're like, helicopter parenting because you don't really think that they're capable,
Yeah.
So I think we unconsciously send a message that is like, I really don't think you can handle your own life. So I've got to help you out, or I really don't think that you can make the right choices for yourself versus, like realizing, like you say, I raised them to 20. I did the very best I could. I loved them as much as I could. I'm
Yes.
a human being too. And, you know, they have to like fly the nest, like my
Yes.
daughter said to me, she's like, I'm flying the coop. I'm like, okay, as you should.
As you should. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a job well done.
Yeah.
Right? That's a job well done.
Yeah.
We talked a bit about boundaries, and because I love them, I'm going to go back on it and get your opinion on it. But why do you think so many really capable women struggle so much with boundaries?
I think it's conditioning. I think
Yeah.
we've all been conditioned to be good girls, be good girls, be nice girls, to, like we talked about earlier, put everybody else ahead of yourself, manage everybody else's emotions. We carry so much responsibility for that, and so I think that that's, really something that women struggle with because we still carry that old conditioning that says, oh, I can't upset anybody by drawing a boundary.
Yeah,
And, really like helping to see that boundaries are really as much for them as they are for you. Like
absolutely.
it's, yeah. And everybody benefits. Everybody benefits from a clear boundary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, for some of the for the male listeners, this is applicable for men as well. We're
Hmm.
using the languaging of female,
Yeah.
but it's applicable for men too, to understand your boundaries, where you end and where somebody else
Hmm.
starts. So even in a relationship, if you're over functioning
Hmm.
and you're trying to do everything and the resentment's creeping in,
Hmm.
have you set that up so that it was a bit of a power thing between you and your partner of them wanting to try and do something and you swooping in and taking care of it? Because that's a
Yes.
big one for couples too, right? The men
Hmm.
want to fix everything and the women just want to be heard, but we're also very capable. So as soon as you start taking all those chores, things away from us, you're in an over functioning,
Hmm.
and it leaves the other person feeling exactly like you said about parenting, is that you don't believe in their abilities. And
Hmm.
that is going to cause a very big rift.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it's really, it's the benefit of clear boundaries is it prevents that resentment. You
Yes.
know, like I always say, resentment is like the cancer to relationship. Like it's the thing that erodes a relationship, so
Yeah.
silently
Yeah.
that we don't even, recognize it. And then all of a sudden the relationship is crumbling. And we're like,
Yeah.
what happened? Resentment. That's what happened.
Yeah.
you know?
For the folks that know of the Gottman Institute, of course, they call it contempt, but it's the same thing.
Yes.
Once you're in that eye rolling or that like,
Hmm.
if they just let, saying sarcastic things or whatever,
Yeah.
you have gone too far. Your boundaries are so porous that,
Hmm.
yeah. And the other side is the really rigid, like, which is what we were talking about prior, trying to
Yes.
control everything. And
Hmm.
because that's the safety. If everything just, oh, I'll manage everything and they'll feel safe, well, good
Yeah.
luck.
Hmm. Hmm.
That might work
Yeah.
in math
Right.
or something, but it doesn't work with people so
No,
much.
exactly.
Yeah. So, having done this for so many years, has your definition of success changed over the years?
Yes, definitely. Like I would say that, again, it's an internal experience. Success is all internal. It's not what your life looks like on the outside because our lives can look fine. They can look amazing on the outside
Yeah.
and we can be like miserable and exhausted and burnt out on the inside while still like wearing a plastic smile and carrying on.
Yeah.
And so success really is like that inner work. Do I know myself? Do I trust myself? Do I love myself? Do I value myself? Do I honor myself? Do I listen to myself?
Mm,
And that's what success is, I believe, and that
mm.
changes your life.
Yeah.
When you have those things in place, you move differently in your world.
I
You
completely agree.
communicate differently. You show up differently. You're more authentic. You're not pretending. You're actually being who you really are.
Yeah. And that
Hmm.
word authentic gets thrown around a lot. And
Yes.
I always, and this was my journey too, is like, what the heck does that even mean? Like,
Exactly.
it's such a ubiquitous word right now.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
just be your true authentic self. Okay, well,
Hmm.
what the heck? Where do I even
Totally.
start? When you have layered on all the costumes and the masks and
Hmm.
the performances and, even people doing therapy and coaching performatively. And
Yes.
like this is how I go to therapy. This is how I go to coaching. This is how
Mm-hmm.
that word, it's a tough one. And you try to tell people, like, even just you being
Yeah.
here, just you
Mm-hmm.
showing up for this conversation is you on a quest for more authenticity.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and even
Yeah.
when you were talking before, it made me think of not just all the things you listed, but also being able to trust yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think
Absolutely.
that you can make some good decisions, and or if they're bad, you'll be just fine getting out of.
Exactly. Yes. That's totally it. Yeah. The self-trust, is really the foundation,
Yeah.
you of I've had that same question. In fact, there was a time in my life when I was like, way back in the days when I was watching Oprah, I was like, what the heck does authentic even mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what is that? And it's like almost something that you have to get to the point where you're experiencing. And then you have, like yourself or like a coach like myself say, yeah, that's it right there. That's
Yeah.
you being authentic, like you being honest with yourself, you listening to yourself, you respecting yourself. That's you being authentic.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's like one of those things that kind of hides in our blind spot until we are actually able to experience it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's super powerful. I mean, I think even just that, people are afraid of saying, I have weak boundaries. I don't know who I am, whatever. Just say, I
Mm-hmm.
just want to explore my authentic self.
Yeah.
Because you do get, when I was looking after not really looking after her, but I was sandwich generation for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
An aging parent, children coming up, managing a relationship that wasn't going well, trying to, start a new career at the time. And I knew who I was in parts,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
it was when I broke, like same story as
Yeah.
you, right? You break and then you're like, okay, this
Mm-hmm.
is not working. So even just starting with that, I'm going to figure out what authenticity means to me. And
Sure.
you had said earlier, even just knowing some of your strengths or what lights you up, which is
Yeah.
why someone like yourself, you're talking to someone and all of a sudden you can hear tone change,
Yes. Yeah.
right? You're like you said, there it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like, and that's so fascinating to see, because, years ago, of course, I worked in person with people and now everything is on Zoom.
Yeah.
But, like literally, I have had clients where I am like, you literally look younger.
Yeah.
Like we have like lifted something from you and helped you, like the light just came back on and all of a sudden you literally look younger because you were like, whoa,
Yeah.
this feels right. This feels like who I really am, and it's like, I always say like that's my favorite thing when I
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
somebody goes, oh, I never thought of it that way. I'm like,
That is
yes.
it. The I've never thought of it that way is like the golden moment.
It totally is. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
what we're here for. That is what coaches and counselors dream of in our sleep.
Exactly. That is
Want that.
it.
Yeah.
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 Exactly. Yeah.
Well, we're getting, if you can even believe it, to the end of our time. So I just kind of wanted to get some personal insights from you. I think we've done enough really cool little tools and things for the listeners to take away. But what are you currently learning in your life? Maybe about yourself or about business or about old, patterns, because we are ever evolving,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're really, yes, we're always evolving, especially when it's what we do.
Is
you
what
know,
we do.
we're constantly learning, constantly evolving. Yeah. And so really like where I'm really focused on right now is like with my clients, really helping them establish that self-trust. Like really like I think that, because as we talked, like as women, as humans, we just have all these layers that get put on top of us. And it's like we're just carrying around all these layers and doing all of these things. And we don't actually really know, are these the things I really want to be doing? Are these the things that really make me happy? And so, like I'm at that stage in my life now where I'm like, I want to make sure that when I get to the end of my life and I turn around and I look back, because none of us get do overs,
No.
that I'm like, yes, I lived it the way I wanted to live it. I was the person I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Like I did the things I wanted to do. Like I'm leaving nothing on the table. I can go out peacefully,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that that's really where I'm focused on personally. And that's the work that I'm really focusing on with my clients right now is like really making sure that this life you're living is really the one that you want to be living. Like, let's shed all the things that you've been carrying that are no
Mhm.
longer yours, no longer serving you. And let's find what really does light you up, serve you, make your day every day an amazing day in one way or another. Even though we still have to do all the things, we can still, at the end of the night, be like, that was a good day.
Yeah.
There were parts that were really good.
Yeah. And on
Mm-hmm.
the ones that don't go so good, tomorrow will be better. You have that
Exactly.
insight and that, yeah, that
Yeah.
understanding.
And you've got the foundation, you've got the foundation of realizing I can navigate this. Like
Yeah.
I have the ability to navigate this. I can handle hard emotions. I can have difficult conversations. I'm capable of this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not going to take me out
Yep.
because I got
Exactly.
Jodi Scott that I can call up
Yeah.
and I can get her to get me back on track.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So if somebody was to hear this and they're like, okay, I really need to talk to Jodi, what steps would they take?
Yeah. So they could go to my website, jodiscottcoaching.com. They can get a hold of me on Instagram at Jodi Scott Coach.
It's
You
Jodi
can
with an I,
Jody with an I. Yes.
Jodiscott.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, you can email me hello at jodiscottcoaching.com. That's probably the most direct way.
Okay,
Yeah, that would be a really good way to just connect right away is that way. Hello at jodiscottcoaching.com. Mm-hmm.
perfect. And
Yeah.
then is there like an intake or do you have a call or do you just jump right in and how
Yeah,
does that
so
work?
I have I do like consults. So yeah, we could set up a 20-minute consult and just talk about where they're at and what it is that they're wanting support with
Right.
or what their bigger vision is, and then we'll take it from there.
That's awesome. And like you say,
Yeah.
most of it, well, your work is all online right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do the occasional in-person workshop, but most all of it is online now.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Mhm.
You've got some pretty good things that are like evergreen or courses and things that are coming up. So there's
Mhm.
always stuff to be watching for.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I do a program right now called the Magnificent Circle, and it's for women who basically are sort of at that midlife point in life, and they're ready for reinvention. But
Yep.
so that's really about like helping them tune back into themselves, finding that self trust, and then you know creating like the life going forward that they want. For the
Yep.
next quarter, the next chapter.
I feel like that's a good dip your toe in. If you've never worked with a counselor, you've
Yes,
never worked with a coach, it's always so good to do those group things because you'll get a sense of the
absolutely.
facilitator or the coach, and it's not intimidating. It's not
Yeah,
the direct one-on-one, you can
yeah,
kind of do it on your own processing. So I think that would
absolutely.
be really brilliant for people to check into that and
Mhm.
go ahead, dip your toe in. It's good
Yeah,
over here in the being your best self world.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
perfect. Jodi, we got to wrap it up, but I can't believe it. But I knew. I mean, we've gone for coffee before, so
we
I knew
have.
this
Yeah.
would be just fine. Thank you so much because I love that this conversation reminds us that thriving isn't about doing more. That's probably the biggest one for me. It's
Yes.
actually about aligning better, and that
Hmm.
can be a time saver in so many ways when you're not
Yeah,
rushing around with all your hats on, trying to take them off and like whatever.
for
And
sure.
to the listeners, if today's conversation resonated, definitely go stop at www.jodi, Jodi, Scott, Scott, coaching.com and just learn the good stuff. You won't regret it. Jodi's an absolute gem. This is Janess with Happy on Purpose. And until next time, remember, joy is something that you work at. It doesn't just happen. Thanks so much, Jodi. Really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you, Janice. I'm happy to be here.